There seems to be a misconception that anime is solely produced by an anime studio and that anime studios are responsible for all aspects of the show, from the music, advertisement, home release, and streaming rights. The reality is that anime studios are rarely responsible for all of that work. In fact, an anime studio is usually only responsible for creating the actual animation. They're also not paid for doing better work. In fact, it's very likely that the higher the quality of an anime, the more the anime studio is losing in terms of profits. Before we can even talk about money, we need to first establish the structure behind the creation of an anime. It's something you may already know, a system known as the infamous production committee. The production committee is essentially a company that organizes a group of companies to come together and create an anime. These production committees are often led by production companies such as Aniplex, Kadokawa, Toho Animations, etc. Simply look at which YouTube channel the trailers for anime are posted in to find out which production company has the rights to that anime. The biggest reason why we have the structure in particular is to diversify risk and actually have an anime produced. We need to understand that an anime is rarely just an anime. What that means is that an anime isn't just the animation itself. An anime needs to work with musicians for the openings and endings, it needs to have merchandise, and of course it needs advertisements to promote itself. Each segment that I just mentioned requires a different company to come in and be responsible for. That's the purpose of a production committee. These different companies who specialize in different fields pitch in the money in order to create an anime. And this is important because an anime is actually quite expensive. Even if we're not counting in the additional costs like producing merchandise and advertising, the amount of money it takes to simply produce one episode of anime is around 100,000 USD. One season of 12 episodes would be around 1.2 million USD. It is certainly not a cheap price. Each production committee is different and will have different number of companies and a different ratio of investments from each company. Some anime like Demon Slayer will only have 3 companies in their production committee: Aniplex, Shueisha, which is the publisher of Shonen Jump, and Ufotable. Others like Attack on Titan's final season might have 7 or more companies on the production committee. The exact ratio is also not clear. The only thing we can go off of is the hierarchy of companies in the credits. Typically, the first 3 companies in this list pitch around 70% or more of the anime's budget. You might have also noticed that with both the examples I just gave, the anime studio was listed in the production committee. This is actually not usually what happens, as anime studios are usually just subcontractors. Anime studios are usually paid a set amount of money in order to produce an anime. This number is negotiated between them and the production committee. If the anime studio's expenses towards making the show is less than the amount that the production committee has given them, then it's a profit. If not, then it's a loss. An anime studio's job essentially is to make sure they can earn a positive difference. This usually involves setting a limit on how many cuts an anime episode would get. Toei Animations is infamous, at least in the earlier days, for restricting the number of cuts that can be used on their shows. It's the reason why One Piece's earlier episodes pale in animation quality compared to the earlier episodes of Naruto, which is produced by Pierrot. For low-quality isekai shows, they're typically easier to manage and often mean a profit for the anime studios since they take less effort. More high-quality shows like Mob Psycho 100 and Attack on Titan take more time and require more money to produce, sometimes resulting in losses from the anime studio's end. Mob Psycho 100 Season 2's director, Yuzuru Tachikawa, was actually scolded by the CEO of Bone Studio for spending too much money on episode 5. Although it looked good, it was actually a loss financially to the anime studio. That isn't to say that making good quality animation is inherently bad. For a lot of smaller studios, making high quality animation gives them a reputation boost. This then gives them a leverage to negotiate higher payments from the production committee. After all, the money given by the production committee is all the money that anime studios are usually given. After finishing a show, the anime studio has no relations with the anime whatsoever. Whether or not the anime does well or does poorly, it no longer affects the anime studio, as all of the profits generated now go to the various companies in the production committee. Obviously, there are exceptions. If the anime studio decides to enter the production committee, like MAPPA did for Chainsaw Man or Ufotable did for Demon Slayer, then they'll be able to enjoy some of the profits generated from a show's success. However, that also means that the anime studio will also need to take on any potential losses from a poorly received show. Nowadays, with the market for anime rising, especially in the West, it's actually quite rare to see a huge loss in producing an anime. It's the reason why the number of anime produced per year is exponentially going up. The corporations see the potential in the market and are consistently pumping out new shows to make more money. We can tell by this graph that the Western market for anime has actually surpassed that of Japan in recent years. In fact, more than 80% of Japan's entertainment exports are anime. With the rise of Western market also comes the increase in influence from the streaming sites. Anime now rely less and less on television networks and more on online streaming sites to earn a profit. You might have also heard that DVD and Blu-ray DVD sales used to be very integral to the profits of an anime. Nowadays, with the shrinkage of the DVD market in Japan, the importance of streaming sites are now outweighing DVD sales. No matter what the profits are though, the anime studios usually will never enjoy them. Many anime studios will actually suffer a loss financially. An example is WIT Studios. Known for its long production cycle and high animation quality, it's often at the center of scrutiny during the anime meetings held by its parent company, IG Group Inc., the same company that owns IG Production. In the 2021 annual meeting, it was reported that WIT Studio was losing a lot of money in its production. It's not that surprising considering WIT is notorious for taking time to polish the quality on their shows. It might sound a little grim right now, but an anime studio losing money isn't always a bad thing. Losing money often means the animators and staff working on the anime are being paid. An anime studio losing money and even going bankrupt isn't a complete tragedy either. A lot of the core staff on shows like the directors, animation directors, and episode directors frequently switch projects and don't usually suffer too much from the losses of anime studios. It's not Madhouse that made One Punch Man Season 1 look so good. It's the director Shingo Natsume along with the other staff members who are responsible for that. It's not MAPPA that made Jujutsu Kaisen look so good. It's the directors Sungyo Park and Shotoko Shosono along with the other staff members who are responsible for that. In general, if we want to give a lot of support, I think we should be more supportive of the animators and staff who are working on the shows. Even with the improved work conditions and pay, their work environments are still not optimal and their hard work rarely gets the reward it deserves.